Okay, we're going to start the intro. Karan Ashley, you are watching the BOP, the BLERD official podcast. Oh my God, another week. We are here. We are excited. I don't know about you guys, but I'm always excited when I'm in the vicinity of my two friends.
You're excited all the time.
Yeah, I know. I kind of am.
Excited all the time. You got that energy.
Am. I'm that person. You know, it's funny. People used to make fun of me. Like, they'd be like, that would get on certain negative people's nerves. And I was like, oh, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to be all over your nerves.
Oh, that works. That's like sage.
People should not have told me. They shouldn't have told me that my positivity gets on people's nerves. Now I'm just going to be extra positive.
They just were not enough. They weren't.
Or they just, you know what? They were enough. They didn't know they were enough. And that's a whole other show, guys.
That's a whole other show.
Let me break out my violin. Yeah, that's for Bob Plus. And we need to get a therapist. I feel like we need a therapist all of a sudden. We need a therapist in the room. Oh my gosh. Hilton George, how are you? How is life?
Man. Look, y'all might not know this because we're scattered out.
Yes.
BOP Nation. We're all over the country, right? It's different time zones and everything.
Yes.
Here on the East Coast, it's going to be 100 degrees every day of the week.
Welcome to my world.
And I'm like, I don't like it at all. I feel like
September.
I'm like,
you can't give me pumpkin spice and heat all at the same time.
Pumpkin spice
way too soon.
And
way
hot
too soon.
Ain't gonna work. I need some clouds. I need some leaves flying.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that.
Mother Nature is confused, or she real pissed. Christi Renee, how you doing, girl?
Yeah.
How you doing? You on the East Coast too. How's the weather for you?
New York.
Feeling Mother Nature's wrath, honey. Today I was walking and I went to the store and I was like, I'm literally talking to myself, but out loud. I thought I'm gonna blend in with everybody and just start talking out loud. And was like, oh my God, no, really, what is happening? It is hot. Like, I'm from Texas, but this is hot. This is ridiculous. It didn't make any sense. Just
people,
so sweaty.
People don't realize how hot New York can get. Like, we think of New York, we think of like, oh, New York, it's so great. It's and it's hot as Haiti over there. There's humidity, there's heat. It's all crazy. But welcome to my world, guys. I finally, the asphalt is what makes it worse because it just reflects and it's bad. But this was my reality, guys, all this time. I finally got 70-degree weather here in California. We just pushed it to the east. Like, we just pushed it over there. And I'm sorry.
It's here.
You guys got to
hold our weather. Give it back.
Look, love us a little less. You ain't got to love us. We don't need that gift.
What Robert Harris say? He said it's so hot he saw Superman in the cab.
He did. Remember when kids would go back to school? Robert Harris. When kids would go back to school and the way it would start cooling off. Like, that was the sign. Yeah. Kids are going back to school. It's cooling off. Now it's like, it's not until Thanksgiving that it gets cooler to me. Like,
that's called a little thing called global warming. That it's a real thing, by the way.
Like, it's warmer year round and catastrophic. Like, literally every week we're talking about a new disaster. Like, we've got the fires,
drought,
crazy,
horrific.
Hurricanes. I mean, they're just, everything's ramping up.
California got a hurricane.
Devastating.
Like, we never get hurricanes, and we got a hurricane. Like, what the heck? Like,
I didn't know what that was over there. What is that?
Yeah.
Bananas. Well, we could talk about global warming. That's another show. That's also going to be for BOP Plus because, I mean, don't get us to ranting and raving on this stuff.
Liberal agenda. BOP Plus.
I know. If you have never watched this show, BOP Plus is where we envision ourselves being, and one day we'll be there where you have, it's like Disney Plus, where you just get all kinds of different BOP episodes, and they're looking. See, Hilton's he talked about.
I was gonna tell people to start paying now. I was like, look, I'll turn the camera on. I can get some content up there. It'd be just me for a while to
Yeah, let me set up. I'll set up the subscription. Y'all buy it. I mean, I'll set it up. I'll put the button and y'all can just push the button while you're watching us today. Hilton, you'll get your $5.99. We'll keep it more. We'll even start it cheap. We'll do $2.99 like it used to, like streamers used to be. They were free, then they were cheap, and then they pulled us in. They dragged us into their world of madness, and here we are. We can't live without them. Oh my gosh. But you know what? This week's assignment, we are doing big things. We love watching superhero movies. We love, just talking about them, and we just love diving deep. And this one was actually one that I enjoyed. And had a lot of anticipation. It had a lot of like, people were like, oh my gosh, this is going to be one of the biggest superheroes of the year, one of the best stories to be told. And it wasn't all of that, but it was very enjoyable. If you have not seen The Flash, you have got to see it. It's now on HBO Max. Like, you don't even, you can watch it or get get your friend's password and watch it. Like, it's very easy.
A 7-day free trial.
Yes.
And set your reminder to like cancel it. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Sorry, guys.
You won't.
Exactly.
You're going to wait till you look on your bank statement and see that $7.99.
8 months later, 8 months later, you will remember to cancel it. And that's how they do us. But guys, this is the thing. Michael Keaton. You could have got Bot Plus for free. Michael Keaton comes back as Batman. You don't get one Batman, you get like 4 Batmans in this movie. But it's really cool because what happens is Barry, we all know his story. When we first met him in the Justice League and all this stuff, that he lost his mother. His father's in prison, accused of her murder. He's always gone through this, he doesn't have a lot of friends. He's kind of an outcast. He's dealing with grief. And the story opens where his father is having his appeal. And that case brings up a lot of memories. It brings up all the grief that he felt when he was a kid, when he lost his mom and she was murdered. And on top of that, he lost his dad because he's always known his dad is innocent, but they've never been able to prove it. So long story short, his grief resurfaces and he starts running, and he doesn't realize that he runs so fast he's able to go and time travel and actually like go where he wants to go. So think about it. If you lost someone and you're dealing with grief and you found out that you could time travel and that you can go see somebody that you missed and that you were like, I just wish I had one more conversation, one more hug, we'd all go. We'd all do it. Whether we're going to, jeopardize the future, whatever.
The fate of mankind.
Right, the fate of mankind. Most of us probably would do it. And Ben Affleck, that first Batman, comes on and is trying to tell him, like, don't do it. You're going to really mess some shit up. But he does it. And when he does it, he tries to he thinks, okay, well, I can just do this one thing to make sure that she doesn't, she's not in the position to die. So he does it. But when he does it, he basically ruins.
Changes the course of everything.
So, so I want to go around the circle. I want to get everybody's their overall view of the movie. Hilton, we're going to start with you because you're our DC expert, lore, canon, everything. He knows more than we do.
There you go. Real experts out there cracking their knuckles like he's a what? Like,
they ready to fight you. They ready to test you.
So I was a fan of the movie before the movie came out, and the reason why is because I knew that it was going to be based on the famous miniseries, comic book miniseries, Flashpoint Paradox, where this story takes place where Barry Allen's going back trying to save his mom. There's an animated version of the movie on WB on Max right now, if you could dig it up, the animated version, and you can kind of see where the comic book story kind of differs from what they did with the movie, which I think was really interesting. It did not do as well in the theater as it probably could have done had Ezra Miller, the lead actor in the movie, had not so many off-screen issues that kind of turned some folks off. But he does a brilliant job acting in this movie. I think the best parts of this movie is when Barry Allen is not being the Flash, and he's talking
Yeah.
to the younger version of himself from this alternate universe, and they're interacting, and he's trying to figure out what to do, and there's so much emotion and raw acting and performance in here that is just amazing. There's always going to be people who stickler about things like the CGI, which I definitely, I feel like there was a little to be, there was lacking issues with the CGI, not enough to derail the story. It was a storytelling device. And as long as you kept it in that box and you focused on the movie, you can stay on the train. Some people aren't capable of doing that. I just so happen to be.
Right.
It was a great, as you say, performance by Michael Keaton playing the classic Batman in this alternate universe as the Batman of that world, of that universe. The multiverse storyline is being introduced, which actually DC did before Marvel, and in a different way, you know, whereas he even demonstrates at one point using spaghetti how the idea of a multiverse is, you know, there's a singular timeline, and then you diverge, and then you end up with this little off ramp. And he took a piece of spaghetti and bent it out, and that's your new future. And he said, no, it's actually linear. And he took the two and he put them over each other. You go in and you affect the past and you affect the future because time goes in both directions. And that's why you got a different Batman. And that's why there's no Superman here. And that's why there's no Meta or anybody like that here to defend us against Zod. And that's the big bad.
Believe
it or not. And not, you know, who actually killed his mother, which we don't find out. No spoilers, but we just don't. He doesn't ask. He doesn't do that.
You can spoil, because that's one of the things I thought. Right. Like, I thought we would find out. So that later he could like avenge it. Yeah, he could like avenge that person, or I don't know.
Never quite went there. But it was funny. It was dramatic. There was some really, really great performances, not just by our stars, but even some of the, you know, some what do you call it, cameos by some of the Justice Leaguers from the other movies. And it's definitely worth a watch. I thought it was a really good movie for the theater, but it's definitely a great movie to watch if you are on Max and you're already paying your money, so you ain't got to worry about being judged or canceled because of something that the actor did off screen, yada, yada, yada. And you could just take that part of your hat off and watch the movie. So I gave it 2 thumbs up. Good, solid 7.5 out of 10.
Absolutely.
For DC movies is really good because sometimes
it's really good.
And this one they did well.
Christi. Okay, I need to get your thoughts. I need to know what you thought of this movie. I know that you're not. I mean, we've struggled with DC, but this one to me, it was great. It gave me all the feels. How'd you feel about it?
So, yes, to reiterate, y'all know I am Marvel ride or die, hands down, a spoon #1. But I have my couple of DC things. However, I only watched this movie because I was so excited to see Michael Keaton, because that is like my shiz. I love Michael Keaton in the original Batman film. And yeah, you couldn't get any better. And it was the whole mix of that. So it's very nostalgic for me. That's why I was like, okay, I know you're going to twist my arm about it or fuss at me or whatever you know, the shit you give me. But this was a plus for me. So it was an extra draw, and I did it. And I actually kind of outburst when I saw they brought in an incredible image of Christopher Reeves. Like, it doesn't get any better than that. And I think for half a second, they even show an Adam West imagery. So it's like, okay, damn, this is taking me back. I feel like somebody around here is old. I don't know about y'all, but oh my God.
Well, they dropped all the nostalgia that the fans love. Like, it's like, if you can do it in a way that they did it, which it made sense, showing this multiverse, it made sense. So it made me happy.
It made me happy. Absolutely. So I appreciated those pieces of it. I thought it was about 30 to 40 minutes too long. But I think some of the fight
No, it
sequences
was.
just go on for way too long for me. And I'm like, oh my God, we get it. And like Hilton said about some of the CGI, I was like, oh, okay, this is a little, it's like the eye trickery. And I'm thinking, ugh, it's like me watching 4K. Like, I'm not a big fan of 4K, which is weird because it just looks cheap to me. I don't know what, I told you that when we were watching Little Mermaid, I was like, I'm struggling. My eyeballs don't work right. I can't see that stuff right.
It's hard to function. It's hard for your eyes to get used to it.
It is. And so I kind of felt that way with a little bit of the CGI. I also think that they struggle with some of the writing, but I have to say, despite everything else, it was a lot for me to detach Ezra Miller from Barry, this character, because I think he's, in real life, I'm like sitting here in the real world going, oh my God, this is insane. Like, I hope this person doesn't. And he's just done so many things over the year. Like, it's a lot. So that was difficult, but I did enjoy his acting, which is crazy. So it kind of made me mad.
He's always been a good actor. Like, he's always, in my opinion, he's always been a really good actor.
Yeah, he has a quirkiness about him and a timing in his kind of stutter or hesitation in his speech. It's pretty funny, and I thought it was good. I thought for him to play those two characters, because they were somewhat different. So for him to do that and pull that off, I mean, there's some brilliance there. Crazy as you may be, but there's some brilliance there. But yeah, I thought it was a little lengthy because some of the scenes just get a little drawn out. I thought it's a great backstory. I love the guy that played Zod, because he's in other things.
Yes.
He's in other things that I absolutely love. So I'm like, okay.
So menacing in everything he does. He's just got that face. Like,
yeah, but he's also played some really nice people roles, which I think is. So I think again, I like to see that range. Did I see Nicolas Cage? Am I tripping? Was it?
No,
weird?
you are not tripping. I got a story for you. Okay, so here's the Easter egg. This movie was originally going to be, there was a Superman movie that was going to be made by what's the guy who did Beetlejuice? What's his name? Looking right at him.
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton, thank you.
Yes.
Tim Burton was going to make this movie on the back end of the Batman movies, and it was going to have Nicolas Cage. And the studio said, "We will let you do this movie, Tim Burton, but if you're going to have Nicolas Cage playing Superman, he has to fight a giant space spider." And they forced him to put it in the script. And so the movie never got made, but that was in the script that got sent to the studio and that went out to all the actors and everything. So for them to have that Superman version fighting a giant spider as a part of that multiversal crash was a little nod to the people who kind of like follow it, because there's a lot of people who up until very recently didn't even know that Nicolas Cage was going to play Superman at one point. And people were like, what? I said, don't forget, this isn't today's Ghost Rider Nicolas Cage. This is Con Air Nicolas Cage. He was all jacked and stuff. So like he could have pulled he could have pulled that off in a different way, but we never got to see it. So they threw it into the movie as kind of like an homage. You did see Adam West Batman. Yeah. You even saw George Reeves Superman.
Oh, and then George Clooney. I'm sorry.
But you didn't see him as Batman though. So we're not even 100% sure that he is the Batman after the fact, which is kind of weird.
He was just Bruce Wayne.
Right? He was Bruce Wayne, but he did say like, what's wrong with you? Like he didn't acknowledge, like maybe he did something with the timeline that made Bruce Wayne not be Batman, and he's just Bruce Wayne. But I don't know that we'll ever know, because I don't think we're going to get a sequel from the Tim Gunn new multiverse that's going to come out. This stories he's going to tell is going to have nothing to do with what we saw here.
And this didn't have the huge hit that it didn't give the dollars. It didn't. I mean, I think it was unfortunate, because the movie is really great, and like you said, Ezra Miller in his real life really distracted from this movie. Like, it was all kinds of crazy stuff happening even leading up to this. I mean, he went to rehab, and they got him together enough to where he showed up on the red carpet, made a couple of headlines, but it's unfortunately the last couple of years it's just been negative headlines for him.
Yeah.
And it's really sad, because it's like, you know, most of the people who are geniuses, it's like there's it's almost like there's a thin line between genius and crazy, you know, it seems. And the ones that fall over into the crazy, it's real crazy. And he's had a lot of crazy stuff, but this guy, he's always been the one that, even in the horrible movies that we've had, he's been the one that I've liked. Like, he's always had that charisma. He's always had the funny, you know. I've been on the fence with, you know, Ben Affleck as Batman. Like, it's just, you know. And so, but even with the bad script, I know.
Slander.
Are you a Ben Affleck Batman fan?
Okay. I am a Ben Affleck Bruce Wayne fan.
Oh, huge. Yeah. He's amazing.
He is the best Bruce Wayne. And I don't like how he has been written as the Batman since Batman v Superman. I think that was the last good Batman he played. But I put that on the studio, not on him. I do too. But it's on him because he's the one in the suit. That's the sad part. You know? They had all the best. They had Henry Cavill. They had Ben Affleck. They had Ezra. They had everybody that would have made those movies the best. We had Gal Gadot do a cameo as Wonder Woman. Just like when Fury of the Gods, she was in the post credit for that, which was a really good sport for her, knowing that she was never going to play the role again. It's probably the last time we were going to see her. But I thought she was such a perfect Wonder Woman.
Which is sad, because she is a perfect Wonder Woman.
Perfect Wonder Woman. But
I thought, you know, when we talked about the Batman, when that film came out, and I remember saying one of the biggest issues I always had with any Batman role was let's see, post Michael Keaton or even George Clooney. I think George Clooney was probably the last one that was decent, but they make him growl. Like, why are we growling? And so I appreciated, you know, I can't stand that. Like, so I was so glad when Michael Keaton came back and was like, let me show these mofos how it's done. And he kept his, you know, it's a normal voice. It's like, what? I couldn't stand. And Ben Affleck, I couldn't tell what he was saying at the very beginning. It was weird. The sound was off. You know, again, I'm like, am I listening too hard? I don't know, but it was weird. So I am not a Ben Affleck as Batman fan, but again, he's suave. He's debonair. He can play Bruce Wayne. It's really not much to it, but
and Ben Affleck's a great actor, man. He's been in some movies, and I love him. But you're right, he wasn't my favorite as far as
he's subpar.
But like, but I will say if we talk about the difference between Batman and Bruce Wayne, he is one of my favorite Bruce Waynes. Like, you know, so far right now, Michael Keaton, I think just because that's who I grew up with, he's been my fave. But again, like, Robert Pattinson shocked me at how much I loved him as Batman. I loved Robert Pattinson as Batman, and I never saw that coming. I wasn't one of the ones.
And we never got to see him as Bruce Wayne. He was only Bruce Wayne for about 10 minutes in the movie, so we can't even judge how he did that. But you're right; he was an amazing Batman in the movie, and that storyline. Again, that movie of the Batman, I want to get on a segue, is another WB property that is probably not going to get a sequel under the new James Gunn leadership. And that's we're probably 5 years from now going to go like, oh, we really loved everything that happened. Great. But, you know, some great movies that we're not going to necessarily.
I heard that one may get a sequel. I heard because of Zoe and because of him and because it was hugely successful, that may get a sequel. I hope so. Because literally that was the one, and it was the one story I felt made the most sense. Like, we always got Batman who was debonair, had money, and just was all these things. But we didn't get the grieving, like, I lost my parents and I saw it. You know, Batman. Like, this is that, and to me, he should have been emo. It should have been dark. He should have been going through it. That's what I loved about this movie. Like, I love the fact that they dealt with grief, and they dealt with just, you know, Barry's rawness of, I'll do anything to get my mom back. Like, what do you, I mean, like, I'll risk it all, you know? And then even the risk of risking it all was like, I would probably do it again. And then it took the whole movie for him to learn that it's not about doing all of these things. It's about letting go, about accepting the fact that she's gone and I have to let it go. But still cleverly, you know, setting it up to where he was able to let his mom go, but able to figure out a way to get his dad back, which I thought was really cool. I don't know if I should spoil it, because if you haven't seen the movie, this is at the very end. But I will just say he thinks of something in the grocery store so that his dad, you know, he's able to get him back and prove his innocence. But I like the movie. Like you said, it was probably like a 7.5, 8. I wasn't pissed. Like, so, I mean, there have been some DC movies that I've been ready to fight. I'm like, how are all these people like making all this money? They're getting all these things.
Give me the money.
Is there anybody in the room like going over what the fans want? Is there anybody in the room?
They ain't got no friends.
Like, it's almost like a bunch of like creative people, right? A bunch of creative people who just went rogue. And it's
get you some black friends. You need some black friends in your life. They need in the writer's room.
They need a BLERD testing audience. I think if DC invested in a BLERD testing audience, because you know we would tell it. We would tell it all.
Get us on that. Somebody could work that out.
Somebody, But
this was an example of that. This was an example of a story that was very well written.
Yeah.
For what you can see, even in the things it tried to do that it didn't do well, you admire the fact that they tried to do it. So, like you were saying, Karen, you're getting the backstory without getting the backstory, right? So you're not getting an origin story in an origin movie. You're seeing the origin as a part of another story being told without us having to have a Flash origin story like every other character got an origin movie, which I thought was brilliant because, quite frankly, there really isn't that much to Flash's origin story other than what we saw.
He's a kid.
Got struck by lightning with a bunch of chemicals that fell on him. He got the Flash, Speed Force, boom. Flash. That's kind of it, right? That's it, right? And plus, we're very familiar with the character now because we had the CW television series that ran for over a decade. So people who are interested in the Flash have had a chance to see him on screen for a long period of time. So the intro was really, really well done. But then all these little nuggets in there, we're talking about like the Easter eggs of like, this is a different universe. Like the fact that Eric Stoltz in this universe was Marty McFly. Which is another Easter egg because originally he was cast as Marty McFly. They shot half of Back to the Future with Eric Stoltz as Marty McFly before somebody came in and was like, no, this ain't gonna work. Fired him, brought in Michael J. Fox. They reshot all the scenes, half the movie with Michael J. Fox,
and the rest is history.
And those shots, those scenes with Eric Stoltz are still floating around the internet.
I think that's hysterical that they were able to incorporate something like that. And
he's sitting there tripping out like, no, it's Michael J. Fox. What are you talking about? Like, he's tripping out.
That's intelligent writing, though. That is such intelligent writing. You know,
that was pretty smart.
Exactly, and the fact
pretty smart.
There's the only remaining superhero in the world that he is in is Batman, and the only reason he was able to find out was because one of the drunk roommates imitated what Batman's call sign was. He's like, "What did you just say? Say that? What? Where?" And his younger, dumber self and their interaction allowed for a growth character arc that didn't come from his interaction with Bruce Wayne or Batman or Sarah Jor-El. None of that. He was actually him learning who he is by like, oh my God, I'm annoyed by myself. I can't. Is this how I sound? Right.
I see what they mean.
Yeah.
So they're sitting there in Bruce Wayne's kitchen, getting their asses kicked by him and everything. And the younger one goes, "He's Batman. Like, what do you think we were doing here? Like,
where have we been?
I thought this was the cousins' dinner. Like, this is
my God.
Like, this is Bruce Wayne and he's Batman. I had no idea. Like, what do you mean? Are you crazy?"
Yes.
So just the fact that he's able to do that was really brilliant.
Yeah, I love the fact though that we got a glimpse of what Barry would have been if he had his mom and dad. Like his mom would have kept doing his life. That was the thing that I think Ben Affleck kind of said in the beginning, where he was like, "You are who you are because of your tragedy. Like you got to understand that. Like I wouldn't be who I am if I wouldn't have lost my parents. Like, I know we want to change things, but." We can't. Like, this is why we are here, you know? And so it took all of that for him to see the person he would have been if he would he would have been even more annoying than he even knew he was.
Yeah.
And it was a really cool lesson learned. What do we think about Supergirl? We got a Supergirl. And it was a very interesting way to again, like we're in a multiverse and they go to look for Superman and they end up finding a girl, and he was like, "No, I gotta save her. I can't just leave whoever this person is. I'm not going to leave them. They look like they're hurt and they need help. And that ends up helping him later or at least earns her trust because she knows that he was just trying to help her.
Right.
What do we think of her? The actress that plays her, let me see. I got it all here. I'm on the wrong page, looking up other stuff. Sasha Cale.
I liked her.
I liked her, right?
I liked her. I thought she was
she's
pretty.
Tough. Yeah.
She's Latina. And that was a really interesting twist on the casting. Right?
Yeah.
Because the classic Supergirl has been blonde hair, blue eyed, you know, and from either another planet in the orbit of the Kryptonian sun or a microplanet that was taken away and stored by Brainiac, which in the movies from the 70s and 80s, they kind of danced around with. But I thought it was really cool for them to streamline it and just bring her in. And she was so brutal and so intense, which was never Supergirl. Supergirl's always been kind of confused and like, where am I? And Superman was her guide. And here she was coming to protect him. And she was an adult, or at least grown, when she left Krypton. And so she kind of knew who Zod was and knew the failings of the Kryptonian people and had all of that already in her, so that when all of this stuff starts hitting the fan, she's like ready to go.
Yeah.
Like she already knows. Just tell him, where is he at?
Yeah.
Zod, I know who he is. We got to go stop him.
I love the androgynous part of her. Like she was, like you said, we've always gotten the girly Supergirl. Like it's almost like Skipper. Like she's always been the girly.
The skirt.
She always was like not quite like the Skipper of if it were the Barbie world, she'd be Skipper. You know, the little sister, the little like cute. So I love the way they did this. And like again, I hate that we probably will never see any more of this or any more of these cool characters that were kind of, you know, just barely, like we barely scratched the surface of what she could be and what a movie could be with her, you know, leading it. And again, like you said, you know, obviously Tim Gunn's in charge, and 5 years from now, we're gonna be like, oh my gosh, DC is everything, and we love it more than Marvel, and we're gonna like we'll tell, you know, because he's such a great filmmaker. I know.
Down here.
You know what he's gonna do, but you guys know he's gonna do some cool stuff. You know he's gonna do some really cool stuff.
The movies that Chrissy loves the most from DC are the ones directed by James Gunn. And that's Suicide Squad 1 and 2.
Yes.
This movie, not this one, but
what's our guy? What's our guy? You know our guy, our favorite. The guy, the he was.
Yes. If you had said it, I would have.
I know, right? That's how it always is. I could never think in the moment. Wait. Okay, he's the guy. Remember, we watched the whole series.
Yes, we did.
They have the cool dance intro.
Yeah, the cool intro.
He was a wrestler. John Cena.
John Cena.
Wait, let me look up John Cena and it'll tell me. But keep talking.
Yes, but no. I think James Gunn's going to do a great job. It's just he's going to do something different. Yeah. And I think that's kind of Christie's point has always been that they need somebody at the helm. Peacemaker, yes. And if he's able to kind of take the best of what we have already covered and build on that, to kind of build maybe a more promising Marvel cinematic style universe where everything is more organized, connected, tied together. You know, what the fans have always said is that if they could just do with the animated series and the animated movies what they do, you know, in the movies, it would be great, because the animated movies are amazing stories. They're super well told, well, you know, written and acted, but that same, you know, cannot be said for the actual movies. And so again, I recommend anybody, Flashpoint Paradox animated movie should be on Max right now. You should definitely watch it. You'll see a lot of the same storyline. It's fleshed out in a different way, but you do see that same, every move Barry makes changes the entire universe in some horrible way. It usually goes wrong. It's like him, you know, and it's why in the DC universe, the Flash is the most powerful in the DC universe, because he has the power to jump back and forth in time. You know, and that's really the most powerful. The Speed Force is the most powerful.
They've never even hinted to that in any of the films. Like they've never even had that arc of growth, and it's like, if it's already written there and you know it works, like why aren't y'all using it? I don't understand. Like
formula.
It's crazy.
They flip flop.
I've never liked the way
this.
they portray his powers. You know, the way he kind of does that duck run when he's in the speed mode. It's not like any other. It's not in the comics. It's not in the animated movies. It's the only place you see that is on the the Warner Brothers screen when it's Ezra Miller, and it's like, why are you doing that? What's with this doing the pose before you take off running? Like, Flash is just gone before you even finish your sentence. We need to go to Center City to he's gone. That's it. And he's never this big deal.
It's almost like the hero pose. Like they always say, here's the money shot. And they want to and it's like, what are you doing?
Understand it.
Yeah. Superhero landing.
Yeah. Superhero landing. Right.
Right. I have to say, the funny thing that when I watch, again, and this is terrible, probably, I'm just probably the worst or the last person that needs to like review certain things. But I watch this and it's so crazy because my brain automatically points out parallels between characters from Avengers versus the Justice League. And so I'm like, oh, he's Peter Parker. Oh, she's like, and then, and it just has these parallels. It's very interesting. And I wish
that's dead on. That's dead on. That has been the history of Marvel versus DC since the beginning. They got a half robot guy, and then you got another half robot guy. You got
all the same.
They just back and forth. Two Captain Marvels, lawsuits involved. It's always been that way, and I don't think that's changed with the movies too. The Peter Parker works with the Avengers, and we'll have Barry Allen be the Peter Parker of this show. Whereas in the comics and in the movies, the animated movies, he's more together. He's more.
But the crazy thing is, the crazy thing though, and again. This may sound like my biases come in and take over, but I feel like from a really just centered space, just watching a movie, I literally I watched this and was like, I've seen this before. And I feel like they're just a step, and we've talked about this before, because we will watch something and then I can right off top just go, oh, that is just like I've already seen it in the Marvel universe. And so I just, again, with the exception of the Batman, because I like Suicide Squad, but remember I told you I couldn't stand that crocodile thing, whatever he is. But I hated the goofiness
like talking
of this.
Animals.
I didn't care for that. But just a few of the things I have loved, I do appreciate. But for the most of it, I'm like, I always feel like there is just this duping game that's going, like they're just trying to scramble to catch up, and it's like, but I've already seen this storyline, or this character arc, or this development, or this alien, or whatever. It's like, I don't know, it's weird.
The sad part is that, like, you're right, Hilton, they've been doing this for years. Like, the comic book series have always been going back and forth with their version of things. But in the movie world, we've had 10, 15, 20 years of wonderful storytelling by Marvel. Yes. So it does seem like DC is just remixing their ideas when really they all had those same, like they were both going back and forth. And sometimes, like you said, DC was the first to do it, but they just weren't the first to put out a good movie doing it.
To do it right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now they look like the copycat.
You have to consider two things. Like, so when Disney came in and bought up all of these properties, about a decade ago, and everybody was panicked because, everything's going to go corporate and all this. The fact that they were able to impose some sort of uniform over properties like Lucasfilm, Pixar, and kind of keep everything kind of, all the wheels on the cart, means that they say, hey, you know what? We got phase one of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and this is going to be the 5 things that we're going to do in phase one. We'll figure out the details as we go, but in general, this is the map of what phase one is going to be, and then everybody better sing off the same hymnal, and so nobody's crisscrossing and nobody's contradicting and nobody's spoiling because this TV show got ahead of this movie, and it really, really worked out. And Warner Brothers never did that. DC never did that. DC has been chasing, that success. You got to remember, it's been 30 movies over 16 years for Marvel, and DC is pretty much, as far as a DCU, they're like on 8. Like, really. And I'm not counting the Nolan films, because that wasn't
Right.
a DC. It was a DC property, but not a DC movie, right?
Right.
So, yeah, they're like, well, we need our Avengers like movie where everybody comes together and there's this huge big bad. And I'm like, yeah, but you didn't introduce these characters in the same way.
You didn't give us.
We didn't get the chance
Iron
to fall
Man.
in love with them.
We didn't get
Hulk.
We didn't get
a bunch of people on the screen that
Captain
just pop up, and we're like, really? Like, okay. And that's why you don't get that same payoff, because the scenes look the same, but they don't mean as much because you don't have 11 movies behind the Avengers and another 15 behind, the Age of Ultron, and as you go and go.
Because we knew everybody in that movie. When we got Age of Ultron, we knew everyone in that movie, with the exception of maybe one or two, but they gave us enough. But it's like we knew who they were, what they stood for, and we were so excited to see them come together. But it was like we had already watched 2 or 3 Iron Mans. We'd already watched, all these other movies. But I have a confession to make, guys.
Oh, gosh.
Remember when we reviewed the Guardians of the Galaxy 3? And I gave it just like an 8 and was just like, meh. It wasn't funny. It didn't do nothing for me. I love that movie now.
You just needed
What changed?
It's you know what it was? You know what it was? I watched it again on a plane. I was flying to New York or DC or somewhere. I was going somewhere on the East Coast. Every weekend that's where I go.
I'm gonna say you wasn't in New York.
No, I wasn't in New York, but I was flying somewhere east. I think it was me. It might have been BLERDCon. I've been to New York, girl, but this is before you got there. But anyways, I was flying somewhere and I watched it and I just enjoyed it. Like, I don't know if I was able to just really zero in because I'm on a plane with my headphones in my own little world. And maybe when I was at the theater, I missed so many different things, or I think I had built it up inside of me. Like I had really built it up. And then when I went to see it, it just didn't land with me that day, or it didn't land with me. But man, I really like it now. I've watched it 5-6 times since then. I watch it on Disney Plus all the time. When you're cleaning the house or you want something on and you just want to or you're middle of the night, you can't sleep. Let me just watch something I already know. So if I fall asleep on it, it's no big deal. That is that movie has been my movie and I really love it. And I love it.
Movies do that.
Yeah, it was a slow burner for me. It really took me a long time to like it, which is weird.
I think it's the familiarity. There was so many moving parts in this movie, visually and tonally, right?
Yes.
And if you're even in the theater, so much going on. And what people don't realize about this movie, because it was done so smooth, is that it kind of lets on that the main character was never Star-Lord. It was always Rocket. And this movie is Rocket Raccoon's storyline and him discovering that he is an actual raccoon from Earth, and you find out his origin story, and you find out that how brilliant he is and why, and all of these things that were centered around the heart of the movie was everyone's love for Rocket. The people who have died who love Rocket, the people who are alive and love Rocket, the people who haven't met Rocket who fall in love with Rocket, i.e. the Gamora of that of the universe. All of these things center around Rocket. Everyone's doing everything in this movie to save Rocket. There would not be any. They would not care about the High Evolutionary.
Save the Badger.
If he was not dying, right?
The Badger.
They call him everything but a raccoon.
Everything but a raccoon.
The squirrel.
So once you get that part, that thread connects everything. It's a different movie because it's like, oh my God, I'm sitting here crying because of a CGI. We said raccoon. I was like, where?
Raccoon.
Raccoon, a bunny rabbit, a walrus, and an otter. Those scenes were just like, these are horrifically, mutilated, scary to look at in some cases.
Yeah.
But they're just the heart and soul of the story,
Yeah.
So it's once you get past it, for me, it's like Napoleon Dynamite. I watched it. I was the last person to watch Napoleon. I got so sick of everybody. You got to see Napoleon Dynamite. You got to see. And I watched it and I was like, this is some bullshit. Y'all got me watching this dumbness. This is the stupidest. But then after the movie, you start getting the acid reflux and regurgitating the scenes, and you start laughing. Then when you go back and watch it again, it's like you're like falling out laughing. You know, the guy is driving over the Tupperware with his van, and then it breaks, and he just panics and speeds off. Like, you know, the guy
like
he
the
threw a pot roast, you know, at his car because you know it's like all this little dumb stuff that you're like, this was not funny.
They were playing tetherball. Was my favorite scene when they were playing tetherball.
No. When my man kicked him in the side pocket to crush his tots in class, like, this dude got a pocket full of tater tots in class. Napoleon, let me get some tots. No, man, I paid for them all week. It's like, bah.
So funny. Like,
that's
so
the
genius.
Same thing. We're in that same way with this movie. Seeing it twice.
Well, the only reason I bring it up and the only reason that came to my mind was because I'm thinking of what Tim Gunn is gonna do for DC. Like, it made me excited to just kind of think about, wow, like he has really done stuff that I've loved. Like, I love Peacemaker. I love the Guardians. Like you said, there's so many things that I've watched that I've just loved. And I can't wait to see it. And like with him, he's not afraid to be funny. He's not afraid to be violent. He's not afraid to be dark, you know, which is where I feel like the DC stories that's their sweet spot, is when they're dark. And so I'm really excited. And, you know, people are like in that stage though right now where they're hating everything. Like they're like, how dare you? You're going to, and it's so funny to me because they've gotten a bunch of mediocre movies and they're fighting for these mediocre movies. But really, they're not even fighting for the movies. They're fighting for the actors that they love. And it's kind of like what we said earlier. They had the best casting. I mean, they had Henry Cavill. They had, you know, Gal Gadot. They had freaking Ezra Miller, like everybody who could. They had Ben Affleck. They had an A-list actor who won an Oscar in a movie about a superhero, you know? And it's like, but they couldn't get them to work because the stories were just not great. Or it just was like, come on.
I would describe this to my Muggle friends this way, and I'll share it with the Bob world.
Yes, please.
People may not know this about me, but I'm a damn good cook, and my best recipe is chili. I can make chili that you will slap your mom. I don't care if your mom is left.
Christi Renee, we're going to DC next week. You meet me there.
I'm telling you, it's a life-changing experience. I'm telling you.
Not next week.
That being said,
do you make cornbread with your chili before we get any further?
Of course, you can't. You have to. Listen,
if we don't
you gotta hit the brakes on something. You know, this to get too good. The beans go straight to your head.
When y'all come here, if you don't bring a vat with you.
I gotta bring it. Now I gotta bring a chili vat in it. On the plane. I'll be on the mug sitting on the plane with a crock pot.
I need a crock pot.
Right? Looking like Chef Bin Laden.
We hungry at New York.
No, you can't have none.
Hey,
he hungry too. But the analogy I make is that when I make my chili, I need it to congeal, right? So I can cook it for 2 hours and everything will be cooked. But it needs to sit in stew and all the, you know, the different spices and the peppers and all the vegetables. Everything's got to get a chance to get together and get on one accord. Right, they got to coordinate. So you can technically grab a scoop and eat it within 2 hours and be like, oh, okay, it's all right. But it's probably not going to hit, right?
Better the next day.
But if you let it sit or put it in the refrigerator and reheat it the next day, it's 100 times better. And so the
Tupperware full of chili, just freeze it. Bring it. By the time you get to New York, it's not a long flight.
Y'all, we got to do this after.
I got a microwave in my room.
We got to do this right after lunch because I done brought up chili. Everybody done missed a meal. They're like, hold up, what you got? Y'all done derailed the conversation.
I don't forget what
DC has done. What DC has done is that they have not allowed their characters and their storylines to gel. They threw everybody in a pot.
Yeah.
They heated it up. They stirred it as fast as they can. They said, this looks good. And then they just threw it out to everybody. And they're like, all the spices are separate. They're not working together. It's like, it's got everything in it that I would like, but it's not connected yet. Right?
Because they're so busy trying to keep up with the Joneses.
They're trying to get that money.
AKA the marbles.
Trying to get that money. They like, if Avengers did this, then damn it, Justice League can do that. And it's like, you know what? Justice League is not going to work with 3 movies behind it. You need 7 movies. You know,
and this is the other thing. you honestly, like, exactly. First of all, that was the main thing. We didn't even know half these actors in these characters and really didn't care. But the other thing is then you hear all the stories of what was going on behind the scenes, like the Ray Fisher story, the stuff that was happening with him, and it just almost made you think, like, are these people having lunch together every day? Are they like, are they really even friends? Are they even, or do they just show up and say their lines? Like there was no like camaraderie. There was nothing underneath the surface. And like we've seen, like, especially when we found out about all the stuff happening with Chadwick.
Yeah.
And we saw all the actors from Marvel,
the community,
and even just like when they were doing the big picture, and it was like all the Marvel.
Paul Bettany reached over and asked
he was
him,
kind
is
of
he
fun.
okay?
And it was, but that was like, it was no camera rolling that they knew of. It was just, this is my friend. He's dozing off. Something's going on with him. Are you okay? Like, it was just the camaraderie, the friendship, the mutual respect. It's just all those things. And like, you see it, even when you see it on set. Like, I love, like, when you watch our favorite show where you get the behind the scenes of every movie.
Yeah.
And you just see them like having fun, talking, making up rap songs or dancing.
Disney Plus.
Assemble. And even like the actors, when they have these new younger actors coming in, and the main actors are there spending time with them, and they're dancing behind the scene. And it's just one of those things where you see them making these properties, but having the time of their life. Like, they're having fun, and you honestly know that they're friends. And you know when something goes down, and if there was someone on set who was treating an actor inappropriately or screaming at them, the whole cast would have stood up and said, "Oh, it'd have been shut down that day." So it's like, you already know, like, the atmosphere of the the production atmosphere wasn't even on point.
But I mean, let's talk about, you were on Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin, and you're like, if because obviously Twitter and TikTok were not rampant when you were doing this, but if something were going wrong on set, people would have, as a fandom, would have rallied for or against whatever it is that was going wrong to get it right, because these are people who loved the characters and the actors. To millions of people out here, you can see your name clear as day right here, Karan Ashley. You are Aisha, and that is what they will call you, and that's how they will, that is what they will scream out. And you have got to a certain part of your brain that's go, oh wait, hold on, yes, like, because they are attached to you and they care about you. And we have those same relationship with the actors and the characters that they play in these movies, and that's partially because of social media gives us more access, so we don't have as thick a veil between us and the production. But it does take something away if we feel like this movie was not made in the right energy and the right spirit for how I would like to receive it. And that's going to be in my mind. Just like we talk about with Ezra Miller. We kind of powered through a little bit, but, we still kind of watching it with our side eye, like, Ezra, you're a really good actor, but I wouldn't want to share a cab with you. Like, it's that weird feeling. Like, I want to love everything he's doing, but I'm like, ooh, and I think that's why not as many people went to the theater to see it.
That's right. Yeah.
I think it hurt the promo because he wasn't able to do the junkets and all of this stuff. He
wasn't able to do it. Yeah.
And, probably if they had spent less time doing damage control for him, they might have been able to focus on that damn CGI so that it wouldn't look like. It wouldn't look like the
BOP special effects that I put together and shit.
No, the BOP got it beat.
My special effects skills are on a minimum. I can do the fade to blacks and but that's not it.
Transition.
I can do the transitions. But no, I mean, I completely agree. Like, it was like when I met Ray Fisher, and I'd already heard the story on the internet, but when I met him, and he's like the nicest person in the world. He's literally like someone, if I'm at a con, we find each other just to give each other a hug. Like, he is just that dude, right? And when I heard what he was going through, I literally, like, before I had ever actually met him, I sent him a message and was like, dude, I said, I'm sending you all the love and protection. I'm praying God's protection over you because you did not deserve this. And I just hope that his career wouldn't be affected by these, whoever, you know, all these crazy people run. But it's like, now we know the whole thing was crazy. Like, you know, and I'm sure Tim Gunn is no saint. And I'm sure some people loved him, some people hate him. But at the end of the day, it seems like he's able to cast a movie. The people on the set, the people in the cast are able to become friends. Like, he demands it. They all going to be like, they're in it together. We're all going to jump off this cliff together, and we'll do it multiple times if it works, you know? So I'm actually excited about what DC hopefully will become.
Listen, the TV series that they're lining up, I heard that Swamp Thing is going to be making a return to the small screen. He might even have more connections with what's happening on the small screen going into the big screen, kind of like what Marvel's done. So they're already talking right. I just need them to get right. I want to see some proof to it.
That's big. That's hard to do, right?
I know that's a longer arc. It's going to take a minute. We're going to be 3 years out before we really start seeing whether or not this is going to work.
Of the labor.
But as of right now, I mean, obviously all this is paused because of the strike. But, you know, I hope, just like you said, that they get it right. Because, you know, I love DC Comics and I love the TV, you know, shows. You know, Justice League Unlimited is on Netflix, and I've been binging that and getting all nostalgic. And, you know, so it's they really do a good job of storytelling when they do it right. It's just not always happening on the big screen. And if they can get that right, we'll be in there.
Yeah, we'll be in there. Oh,
well, my final thought is this
Christi.
Whole thing is just simple. There's a magic with Marvel, and we've always talked about this. And when you bring up how the actors, these real life people that play these roles, these characters that we love, they've just created something so incredibly special over the decades. And so, you know, they're never really having to play catch up. And I just hope, we said this before, and we'll continue to say it again, because again, we feel like some of the other things that are going on at DC get in the way of the final product. And what we want is just a really good product. Because again, there's a nostalgia for me. So I'm not like totally against DC. Hell, I want them to get it because I want to watch some really good stuff. And I want to not just watch some good stuff. I want to be connected to it and feel like now I'm a diehard fan again, you know, because I'm seeing it come to life. So again, I hope they do come with the next, you know, Robert Pattinson and Kravitz. I hope they can keep that thing going, you know, because that makes sense to me. Even with Joaquin Phoenix, whatever they're going to do with it, like, I don't want to
shot that. No, they already shot it. Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga is going to be,
Harley Quinn, well, they already shot it.
I wish it would have been under the same, you know, tone or design as the first one, the first Joker. I don't know what this next thing is going to look like being a musical. That sounds absolutely bizarre to me. Yeah. But again, why fix it if it ain't broke? It wasn't broke. The first one was exceptional. So I don't know. I hope they get it. I hope they just figure it out.
Healing hands.
Here's to figuring it out. Well, guys, that's the end of our show. We're at the end.
It's
ready.
There. I know.
I had 17 other things to say.
Well, what you gonna say? Give me two. Give me two of the 17.
Nothing.
Give me two. What's in that cup? That's
some water. Some agua.
No, we need to have a cooking segment. That's one thing I've learned from today's show.
Cena went back to the food
because
I'm kind of with her.
Revelations have revealed to me. I know Christi can cook, so Christi can handle a cooking segment. Now I know Hilton can cook. He can handle a cooking segment. I can
hold on to your jaw.
Comida Mexicano.
Hold on to your jaw.
Comida Mexicano. I'll handle the Mexican food.
She about to bring that side out. Yeah. Look, Karen don't always dunk on us with the Mexican side. Okay. All right.
We need a cooking segment. This is what it's basically telling me. Like,
okay, all right.
We should do.
Next time we're in the same city at a con that we're not running.
Okay,
we're gonna rent an Airbnb with a kitchen. And
dinner and a movie.
We're gonna set up some cameras, and we're gonna whip up a BOP lunch or a BOP dinner or something. We'll figure out a way.
Everybody make a dish. Everybody make a dish.
That would be so much fun. And we talk about whatever we just watched. Or hot topics and all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
That would be so much fun. Yeah. Look at that.
Oh, hell.
There are a lot of people who don't know how to cook, though. I think we would do them a service if we were to give them some cooking advice. Because I realize, like, a lot of people can't cook. A lot of people.
Listen.
A lot of
people do not
I just
understand.
assume. Well, see, this is the thing. I assume people can cook because I come from a cooking family. Like, I got 5 sisters and all of them can throw down. Like, all of them, they got their dishes, they got their stuff.
Right.
You know, my aunties cook. Everybody, not everybody's the best cook, but everybody got their dish. Like,
and look at the stove like it's a UFO.
So mad.
No, but literally, you come over and you go, like, they go come over for dinner, and you're like, okay, we're gonna come over, and it's not gonna be bad food. Like, that is never even a question. Even the one who cooks once a year, you know you're not gonna get bad food. It's still like, you know, it's about to be on. Like, that's just what our family does well.
Right.
So it's shocking.
Love in there.
Yeah. So it's shocking to me when I hear that, you know, people can't cook, and I'm just like, what? You didn't put no salt in that? Like, that's like number one.
First thing
like,
I look at is your spice rack. What you got in that spice?
There needs to be like 20, 30 spices in there. Like, you need to have
what the ancestors tell you to bring. Because
you don't have
you ain't got no paprika, Lowry's, Old Bay, cracked pepper, you know, joint.
You can even have some garlic.
Garlic.
Slap your mama.
And if you black, you better have some onion powder.
Better have some onion powder.
You ain't got onion powder. I'm gonna ask
Hello,
somebody. Grandma. Do we need to go to the store because there's no onion powder? Does the recipe call for onion powder? No, but I still feel more comfortable with it in the store, in the house. It's like a talisman to bring the ancestors in. I'm not gonna use it. I just need to.
Right.
Like, everything don't call for hot sauce, but if you're in a house without hot sauce,
it's a problem. It's like, what are we here for? Like, what is this place? Is this a house?
Put it on nothing.
Is this an office or a house? Like, what is this?
Let me get my DoorDash queued up.
We literally have like 8 different hot sauces in my house.
Oh
like,
my
husband like literally goes to restaurants, and if there's a hot sauce that they have that they sell, we buy it. And you like it, like, I mean, there's literally, like, we went to this one restaurant, fancy restaurant, like fancy, like this was his birthday. Like, this is like the big, we gonna spend some dough, but they have wonderful food. So we're paying for like high quality cuisine. And they had like a salsa that was just randomly with one of the dishes. And we literally were like, we need this. They like bottled us up a bottle of,
oh my God.
And then we were like, is it gonna be like $100? Like, how much is it gonna cost? They were like, no, it's just like $10. We're like, what? We'll take it. We'll take 2.
It's like when you go to New Orleans, you know, you got to be like, what is in this? You know, if they start talking, you start writing. Like, I never heard of that spice before.
Yeah,
I didn't know you could do that to
it's like
saffron to
alligator.
Like, really? Okay. Like,
I've eaten shit in New Orleans that I would never eat and didn't know I ate, and was like, I want seconds. Like, I
had alligator legs, y'all.
I've never in my life, like, they cook everything great.
Yeah. I thought it was a metaphor for a certain preparation for chicken wings. They're like, no, they're actually cutting the legs off alligators and we frying them up and putting them in this special sauce. I said,
I blame
bring
it on
me
the
up
voodoo.
2 hours.
On the voodoo.
What?
I blame it on the voodoo because I've eaten my way through Louisiana.
That's how you see the ancestors. You get it was walking between worlds.
Hallucinating. Okay, we've done enough. We're going to the dark side. Guys, thank you for watching the BOP, the BLERD official podcast. We love you. We mean it. Bye.
Tune in every Tuesday for a new episode of the BOP, the BLERD official podcast.